he has a show called Bible Phonies, and on the show, he would attack Christianity in any way he could. The first part of the show, he'd have clips from Nazi Germany of stormtroopers marching, and he would play the Christian hymn, Onward Christian Soldiers. So, but he had contacted me because I became outspoken when the same-sex marriage issue was brought up in Hawaii. My picture was on the paper, and so he asked if I'd be willing to be on the show. I think that he saw it as an opportunity to further his agenda, so I think that tolerance is being willing to say what you believe and allow other people to say what they believe. So I know there's people that believe that homosexuality is okay, and I know that my point of view is different from that, and I think tolerance just allows discussion to happen. So he invited me, and in the spirit of tolerance, I said, of course, I'd be happy to discuss it. The question was, did I believe that the Old Testament about death for various things, bestiality or homosexuality, I can't remember, it goes back several years, if I felt that that was justifiable. And I said, well, that was under the Old Testament. That's a whole different relationship than what Jesus Christ came and preached. The law that was given and its exactness was demanded in a theocracy for what God required Israel, in order that their message not get corrupted among when they were broadcasting. But when Jesus came, he had an entirely different purpose than that. His purpose was to seek and to save that which was lost. So he wasn't talking about eliminating people or putting people outside like the Moabites or other group. He was talking about being inclusive. And obviously from Jesus' message, it was for sinners, people who were bound in sin in some area of their life. So obviously homosexuals were part of the people Jesus wanted to reach. One of the things I also remember saying in the interview is that according to the Bible and of course to scientific studies that confirm this, there's really no such thing as a person that's born a homosexual. There's no genetic identification. It cannot be passed on from homosexual parents to have homosexual children. It couldn't be genetic. We know too much about genetics to know that homosexuals don't reproduce, not generation after generation after generation. So homosexuality has always been a behavior, and just like all kinds of behavior that's unacceptable to God, theft, murder, other things, that he always has put restriction on behavior. But the people that commit the behavior were just the type of people that Jesus wanted to reach. And so he would reach out to them in ways of offering love and forgiveness. That's it. And so we talked about that. And so he wasn't happy with my answer that I didn't believe that homosexuals were a type of person. You see, I think that's the problem. That's been what's so divisive in our society, is that they say people are homosexuals and therefore they're not on the same level as other people. When the fact is, Jesus' perspective, which I hope to evince in the program, was that people are people. Behavior sometimes becomes unacceptable. No question about that. But we don't want a society where any kind of behavior happens. We don't want people to be violent. We don't want people to be deceitful. And we have limits on behavior all the time, all over the place. We don't even want people who like to smoke in our presence. I mean, there's all kinds of laws that follow our preferences about behavior. Now, the question about homosexuality is something that the Bible is very clear about. There's at least 17 passages that prohibit homosexual behavior. Well, why is that? If God thought it was a good thing for us to participate in homosexuality, I'm sure he wouldn't have put prohibitions against it. He did it really in our self-interest as well as the interest of society.
What was a question that became so inflammatory.
Well, I think the question is about the Old Testament death penalty. Did I believe that? And I said, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that's for today. And he said, well, would you be in favor of the death penalty for homosexuals? And I said in the interview, no one's in favor of that. So the question was, well, if there were a law, and I felt I'd made it abundantly clear that I wasn't in favor of that law. No one that I knew was in favor of that law. What if there was a law that said that? Well, I said if there was a law, I would support it, because I had already identified myself as a Christian, that Christians support laws.
So he understood how to ask the question.
Oh, of course he understood how to ask the question, yeah. It was what you and I would call entrapment. I'm sure he would have thought it was just cleverness. It obviously didn't portray the truth of my point of view about homosexuality. We have people from a homosexual background in our congregation. We have people that are in the community that know me as a friend. And this has been, you can't, what I had really thought, because this was in a community access TV, I thought, well, you can't be 20 years in a community, where I've been in Hawaii since 1973, so we're talking a lot longer than that, where you work in a community of faith, where you are accountable not only to the people that you serve, but to other Christian organizations. You can't be a hate monger and survive on an island. So I said, well, people are going to realize this is entrapment, and they're going to put it in the context that this is a person who had an agenda, who was trying to get people to say something that he wouldn't. But I said, in the total context of the program, it was evident. That's not the point of view that I was advocating. And so he found some way to put it around so that it would make me look like I was in favor of some extremist point of view, which very often is done with anybody who has a differing political agenda. They always try to marginalize their opposition. They stereotype them. They put them in some kind of a group that everybody says, well, that's the bad group to be in. When in actuality, people are people, and they have different points of view. My point of view is uncompromised. I believe that homosexuality is a wrong behavior. I think it's biblically wrong. And I was invited on that show as a Christian advocating the Christian point of view. I'm not about to compromise that. What we do with people who are involved in wrong behavior as a minister of the gospel is we redeem people. We bring a message of hope and change. And here's an amazing thing that I found out in the course of preparing for the same-sex marriage propaganda that came out. All the sex studies, all the prominent sex studies say that the vast majority of people that are involved in homosexuality get out of that lifestyle. That's the Masters and Johnson study, that's the Kinsey study, that's the other studies that have been done. Over the years, there are lives that have been tracked, they go into homosexuality, they come out of it. Mm-hmm. That's not a part of the press that's out there today. They say homosexuality is something that somebody can't help. But if there's any science and sociology at all, and there's any validity in statistics and data, then the truth is, no, there are people that go into a type of behavior. They experiment with it, or they go through a thing in their life where they go through alcoholism, or they go through violent stages, and so on. And the message is that people change. The record is that the vast majority of people that go into homosexuality change. That's statistics.